I'm 19 and my parents are in their 50s. For as long as I can remember, I've been allergic to things like dairy, wheat, flour, gluten, and legumes. Since I was a young child, my parents have completely kept all of them out of the house. While other kids ate breakfast cereals, I ate fish and assorted pickled vegetables for breakfast. While other kids had Lunchables, I had grilled chicken or fish with, again, assorted vegetables. While other kids ate birthday cake at a birthday party, I had an apple. I never questioned this until a couple months ago. I was at my aunt's house for my birthday party and she made brownies for everyone. For me, she took great steps to make them with almond flour and avoided all my allergies. I started eating them and thought little of it until my aunt suddenly looked at me and, in a panicked way, asked me which plate I took the brownies from. I pointed from the one where I got my brownies and she immediately stood up and told me we had to go get my EpiPen. She raced to ask my mom for it and I sat there scared out of my mind because I had never mistakenly eaten flour before. I noticed my mother calmed her down and then she said that we don't have to worry because she had switched to plates of brownies and after all I had eaten the ones made with almond flour. I found this incredibly odd because really, why would she swap the plates? That doesn't even make sense, but for the time being, I let the issue rest. However, it didn't sit well with me for about a week and I finally went to get an allergy test. The doctor started with a skin prick test and lo and behold, I didn't react to any of the above substances. Then he ordered a blood test and when the results came in, they said that I had absolutely no intolerance to any of the foods that I'm supposed to be allergic to. I was furious and called my mother. She eventually admitted that she lied to me because she wanted me to be on a Paleolithic diet and avoid all temptations. She raised me with a lie, but she keeps insisting that I try to see her from her perspective. She spams my phone with messages about how healthy I am, that I never had acne, that I've been in great shape my whole life, that I have strong teeth and bones, and even that I got into a D1 college tennis team. She started calling me ungrateful for her intervention and insisting that I really should be glad that I never got carb addicted. I don't know what to think. I carried around an EpiPen for all of those years, one that I suspect may be fake as my mother never got me to replace it, and I don't even know anymore. Am I ungrateful for losing it over this? After finding out that my mom lied to me my whole life about my allergies, I cut off contact with her. Perhaps against my better judgment, I decided that I would reopen the line of communication with my mother. I decided that I wanted to have a relationship with her, but I also wanted her to see why what she did was so incredibly wrong. I told her I was willing to talk if A, she did not say anything until I had my say, B, didn't gaslight me into thinking what she was doing was right, and C, truly considered my perspective. She agreed instantly. We set up a video chat at that point and I started explaining my points. What if I had really accidentally taken one of those foods I was supposed to be allergic to, which is absurdly irresponsible of her? Did she ever stop to consider that I, sitting there at another kid's birthday party chewing down on an effing apple while the other kids ate cake, might just make me feel out of place? This was inconsiderate. How could she have the nerve to suggest that my hard work and having a goddamn tennis racket practically glued to my hand since I was 4 wasn't the reason why I'm such a great athlete, but rather it was because I didn't eat gluten? How could she have lied not only to me, but to our family as well? This was dishonest. Why didn't she just talk to me instead of raising me on a lie? This was underhanded. By the end of my rehearsed talk, my mother was straight up ugly crying. This was not exactly what I expected, but she apologized and said that she had been terrible. It was a huge leap from her previous response. She told me everything I said was right and asked if I would listen to her reason why she did so. Before I was born, my mother had a much older brother. I knew about him but never heard specifics on what happened to him. Apparently, he basically ate himself to death. He was so obese and food addicted that he was beyond help. He passed away when my mother was pregnant with me. They were close and it had a huge effect on her. She rationalized that lying would be better for me. When I brought up the fact that she didn't lie once, but for my entire life, she acknowledged that she truly had no excuse. This did not give me complete closure, but at least I got it. I'm talking to my parents again. My father also apologized, although he's tried to maintain that what he did was more of an accomplice who tried to talk her out of it. However, that's another fight for another day. I am now 8 weeks pregnant with my third child. Nearly 2 weeks ago, my sister went into labor at 30 weeks and her little boy unfortunately didn't make it. It was understandably really traumatic and she has been inconsolable. It was made worse by the fact that it took her 4 years to conceive. I only found out that I was pregnant at 6 weeks and 3 days, a couple days after my sister miscarried. I figured it was best not to tell her as it was too soon and it would put salt in her already gaping wound. However, my family knows that we were trying. My morning sickness was starting to act up in a couple days leading up to the funeral, but I never considered canceling as I needed to support my sister at this time. The service went according to plan, but problems started happening at the wake, which compromised the entirety of both my sister and my brother-in-law's families and some friends at my brother-in-law's parents' house. My excuse for not drinking was easy because I don't really drink anyway, but it got difficult when my nausea hit. I excused myself to the bathroom where I promptly threw up. My brother's wife, my sister-in-law, who was one of my best friends, followed me up. She straight up said, "You're pregnant, aren't you?" I responded, "Yes, but don't tell anyone. Today is about making my sis and brother-in-law feel comfortable." My sister-in-law congratulated me and said that she understood. Unbeknownst to me, my brother-in-law's teenage sister was in her bedroom next to the bathroom instead of with the family and proceeded to spread news around the wake before I managed to get downstairs. My sister confronted me crying and asked if it was true. I said yes, but I didn't mean for her to find out like this. She screamed that I could conceive easier than an effing rabbit and I was flaunting my pregnancy while she suffered. I admit that I can get pregnant easily and something that I know has caused a bit of pain as my other kids are 2 and 9 months old. It ended with her retreating to the bedroom and just screaming. It was awful. Everyone thinks that I'm an a-hole except my husband and sister-in-law. My brother-in-law is refusing to look at me in the eye even after I explain the situation. He says that I should have known his sister was in her room. My mom said I could have easily told my sister-in-law that I caught a bug from one of my daughters, but I believe my brother-in-law's sister, who has a habit for attention seeking, would have spread the rumors anyway. And it was a private conversation. My brother is fighting with my sister-in-law and believes that she shouldn't have asked. Am I wrong for admitting that I was pregnant? My ex and I started dating when we were freshmen in high school. After we graduated, we went to separate colleges, but that couldn't keep us apart. We were still crazy for each other, and after a few semesters of long distance, he transferred to my school and we finished our degrees together. He asked me to marry him shortly after graduation and I was ecstatic. A few months after our engagement, I found out that I was pregnant. We were over the moon and so excited for our first child. Unfortunately, I suffered a miscarriage and it sent us both into a deep spiral. I was disconnected and the lowest I've ever felt. It took a toll on our relationship and we decided to take a break. We both took time apart to heal, hoping maybe we'd come back to each other. My biological father got sick and needed help running his business, so I moved an hour away to help him. Throughout this time, my ex and I would check in with each other here and there. However, during our break, my stepsister was hanging out with him and there for him when he needed someone. I guess that support turned into something more because 6 months later, I found out she was seeing him. She never mentioned it or talked about it, and when I found out, my heart felt like it was in my throat. It turns out that my parents knew about it and never told me. I found out only when I was staying over at my mom's house one night and accidentally overheard a conversation between my parents mentioning that she was spending a lot of nights over at his place recently. When I confronted her, she said that it just happened and I can't be mad at her for it because I wasn't there for him. She then also stated that maybe everything that happened was for a reason, including me losing my baby, because she's supposed to be the one who ends up with him. I cut her off and ignored her after this conversation. No matter how many times she texted and apologized for what she said, I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't bring myself to face him or confront him because I was so angry that he would choose my stepsister of all people he could be with. I also can't lie that I haven't gone over him and I still have feelings. 3 months later, I got a wedding invitation from her. Now they're getting married, my family is pushing me to reconcile with her and saying that I need to support them. The thought of seeing them together kills me and I don't think I could go through with it. Am I wrong for not wanting to be a part of their lives? I moved into my flat a couple years ago. My mom lives about 10 minutes away walking distance. At the time, I lived alone, so I gave her my second key. That way, if I ever lost my key, I could just go to her place and grab it, or if there was ever an emergency, then she could help me. My partner of 3 years moved in with me about a year ago. I asked my mom for her key so I could give it to him, but she kept forgetting it, so I just made a copy of mine. My mom has kept her key, and though she swears she doesn't use it, I'll get home occasionally to find something is different, and my mom admits to causing it. My partner and I also have a baby, a 6-month-old. I'm currently able to be at home with him, but sometimes when I need to go out, my mom comes over to babysit. It was my birthday a few days ago, and my mom decided to let herself in. She planned to enter our bedroom and wake me up with a surprise, her presence in my flat and a card. Unfortunately, she got the surprise, catching me and my partner while we were busy. My mom left the room and let's just say it ruined the mood, and her joking after to break the tension did not work as she hoped. Obviously, everyone is embarrassed about this, and on the basis of not wanting it to happen again, I asked her for her key back. I told her the next time she wanted to come over just to call or text me and I would let her in. She refused to give the key back, calling me short-sighted, selfish, and ungrateful. She also said I'm prioritizing my relationship with my partner over my relationship with her. I said she's acting like a jealous ex and it's creepy. She needs to calm down and leave the key. She then took the key and stormed out, so I asked my partner to change main lock. My mom tried to get in yesterday to talk to me and make up after our argument, but when her key wouldn't work, she called me and asked for shutting her out and not having a conversation with her. She said that me changing the lock made her feel like I didn't trust her. Am I wrong for changing the locks?
Am I the asshole for calling my dad's girlfriend his mistress? My mom died of a brain aneurysm 2 years ago and she was 39. She and dad were no longer together before she died because dad had an affair with his work colleague, Amanda. They were getting a divorce, but my mom died before it was finalized. I was 18 and honestly, I resented my dad because of the heartache he caused my mom and I blamed him for her death. After mom's funeral, I refused to talk to him until recently we reconnected. Me and Amanda are still together and I've started to accept their relationship because I saw how happy my dad is. Last week, my dad informed me that they're getting engaged. At the engagement party, my dad did a toast. He said, I can't wait to marry the perfect woman and I thank God for giving me the love of my life after all those years I wasted with someone else. Am I the asshole for calling my dad's girlfriend his mistress? I walked out of the room after hearing what my father said. He basically considered his marriage to my late mother a waste of time. It broke my heart and I wanted to leave right away, but my godfather and Amanda follow me. Amanda said dad wants to give me a message, but I told her I can't do that and I need to go as I feel sick. My godfather tried to convince me to stay and say a few words. I got tired of holding in my anger and said I have no good words to say about my cheating father and his mistress. I need to go. Amanda called me an asshole and said I need to get over the past. My boyfriend picked me up and my dad called and was furious with me. He said I made Amanda cry and is demanding an apology and that I ruined his party. Am I the asshole for not paying to change my father's gravely insulting gravestone? My father and mother had a very bitter marriage towards the end of his life. He had a long-running affair with another married coworker and got her pregnant before he passed. He was planning to leave my mom, skip the country, and move to Canada to start a new life with her. They had a house picked out and all. He moved out and was living with his coworker when he suddenly died of a heart attack while having nasty time. Divorce papers were never filed, no legal separation. On paper, they were still married. My siblings are already out of home, but I'm visiting helping my mom manage his estate. My mom was hurt and petty and marked his gravestone as in loving memory of John Doe's son, husband, father, and adulterer.